Couple of wild things happening over in Washington, D.C. over the weekend, including the case of Biden being investigated for corruption and possible money laundering. Who am I talking about? Hunter Biden? Well, I don't know. Possibly the president, Joe Biden. Welcome back. Springfield's Morning News. Let's take a look at this headline. 2 days before congressional testimony, the Department of Justice asks a judge to set the prison date for a key Hunter Biden associate, Devon Archer. Now, it's been talked about for well over a week that Devon Archer is set to testify in front of a House panel behind closed doors. Today's the day that that's going to happen, and it's expected that Archer is going to provide eyewitness testimony that Hunter Biden, in business deals that that Devon Archer was a part of, came in with a phone and set it down, and his father, Joe Biden, was on the phone. This would essentially be the first person account of Joe Biden being involved in Hunter Biden's shady business dealings. And if that's the case, then I would imagine, indeed, if that's what's put out there by Devon Archer in closed-door testimony, which I imagine we'll hear highlights of it, or at least recollections of highlights of it from those members of Congress who are there. It'll be a fast pace, I think, towards that impeachment inquiry that House Speaker Kevin McCarthy hinted at. But here's the headline. Again, 2 days before congressional testimony, the Department of Justice asked a judge to set a prison date for Devon Archer. So Archer, he's facing already a criminal conviction and a sentencing at some point for February 2022 when he was found guilty and sentenced to 1 year and 1 day in a scheme that involved the sale of $60 million worth of tribal bonds. So something that's not even related to the Biden saga. But Archer, he's been free while he awaits the date for when they actually say, okay, you gotta report to prison. But over the weekend, and this is being seen as something that's really not customary, the Department of Justice on a Saturday reportedly issued a letter saying that the government requests the defendant be ordered to surrender at a date and time determined by the court to facilitate to a facility designated by the Bureau of Prisons to commence his term of imprisonment. So as the news comes out that Devon Archer is going to be testifying behind closed doors in Congress to possibly, connect that dot of Hunter Biden's shady business dealings with Joe Biden, who has, for time and again, the president's denied that he knows anything about Hunter Biden's business dealings. You've got Devon Archer apparently going to spill the beans, and the Department of Justice saying, we want him in prison. Go ahead and announce when he's going to go to prison. Republicans calling the move an effort to intimidate the witness. But Devon Archer's attorney says that they don't see this as intimidation. In a statement they released to the media, Devon Archer's attorney said, we're aware of speculation. The Department of Justice's weekend request to have Mr. Archer report to prison is an attempt by the Biden administration to intimidate him in advance of meeting with House Oversight Committee Monday. To be clear, Mr. Archer does not agree with that speculation. In any case, Mr. Archer will do what he has planned to do all along, which is to show up Monday and to honestly answer the questions that are put to him by the congressional investigators. So, fascinating, right? But you've got others who have pretty much put the pressure on the DOJ with some interesting tweets that we'll review now. Here is just one from Matt Gaetz, where he lays out that more members of the House Oversight and Judiciary Committees, he says 2 members of the House Judiciary Committee are now calling for lawmakers to return to Washington because they're on break, to return to Washington for immediate emergency hearings on the Department of Justice's interference with congressional oversight. Mike Johnson is an elected member of House leadership and one of the brightest attorneys in the House. This is all because Hunter's problems and Joe's problems merge with the testimony of Devon Archer. And he quotes Mike Johnson saying, I will join you back on the Hill. So media outlet, media personality, following pressure from several members of Congress, including Matt Gaetz and Chip Roy from Texas and others. The DOJ has backed off its request for Devon Archer to surrender into DOJ custody prior to his congressional testimony. Archer, former business partner of Hunter Biden, scheduled to testify to Congress tomorrow. So reading from this letter, it says the government writes to follow up on its July 29th, 2023 letter that apprising the court, the Second Circuit's mandate affirming the judgment of conviction in this matter. The government understands the defendant's scheduled to provide testimony to Congress tomorrow, and that's today, to be clear. So this is a letter sent on Sunday. So they're doing all this business Saturday and then Sunday. Seems to be a little uncanny. We're not uncanny, but not traditionally how the Department of Justice works, especially issuing these letters on a Saturday and a Sunday. They say, to be clear, the government does not request and never has requested that the defendant surrender before his congressional testimony. As the court knows, to surrender and commence his sentence of imprisonment, the defendant must first be designated to a federal facility by the Bureau of Prisons, a process that could take several weeks or months after the court sets a surrender date. Nonetheless, it says, for the avoidance of all doubt, the government requests that any surrender date, should the courts order one, be scheduled to occur after the defendant's congressional testimony is complete. So fascinating about face over the weekend, or not necessarily about face, but a need for clarification from the Department of Justice. So we'll see what happens after today with Devon Archer set to testify in front of the House Judiciary Committee, and what exactly is going to come out of all of that. But that's not the only thing that happened over the weekend. You have some happenings with the U.S. Supreme Court when it comes to the ATF's rule on braces and receivers. And apparently that rule that was postponed and blocked by lower courts in the federal districts has now been reinstated by a Supreme Court justice. So we'll touch on that next here with Springfield's Morning News on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk.